All right, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about why solar is one of the coolest, most incredible industries that you could possibly work in, especially for sales. You already know that our society runs on electricity. It's almost hard to imagine what life would be like without electricity. It's so ingrained into everything that we do. And guess what? Our appetite for electricity is only growing. It's called the electrification of America. You can look it up. Electric vehicles will be ubiquitous in a few years. Every car on the road will be electric. And when the average American household replaces their vehicles with EVs, electric vehicles, it doubles their electric bill. So our need for electricity is growing. That's great if you're a sales rep. Anytime society at large needs your product more and more and more, it makes it easier and easier to sell. The other issue is that our current electrical grid is failing. It was not built for modern society where we are consuming this much electricity. There are brownouts. There are blackouts. I sold door-to-door in Chicago a few years back, and when I was there, they had record heat waves. Everyone was cranking their AC and the grid shut down. It couldn't handle it. And people died. Old people in their homes had heat strokes, heat exhaustion. Our society needs electricity and our grid isn't up to the task. Because the grid is failing, utility companies are constantly needing to dump money into it to repair it and try and upgrade it, which does what to customers' electric bills? It jacks them up. Homeowners hate it. They have no control over the price that they pay for one of the most important products and services in their life. It's constantly going up. So again, look at this from a sales rep's perspective. People need the product like they need air, like they need water. The price is going up like crazy. The current service sucks. This creates an amazing opportunity for you as a sales rep to come in and just get people a better solution. There's also political forces, Republican, Democratic, politicians, constituents, it doesn't matter. This is an issue that both sides of the aisle are unified on. Republican or conservative customers like solar because it gives them control. It allows them to kick these quasi-monopolistic government entities called the utility companies to the curb and take control of their electrical generation and to fix their rate. People on the left side love it because it's great for the planet, and politicians both love it because the renewable energy industry creates jobs, and everyone is aligned on this narrative that we have to do better for the planet. There's also economic forces. Going solar is a better economic opportunity for homeowners. It saves them money, or it fixes their rate at a predictable price for decades to come. It's just a better option. There's also environmental forces. Whether you're a tree hugger or not, whether you believe in human-caused global warming or not, Elon Musk says the way that we generate electricity now is just a terrible experiment. Even if the jury's not out whether humans are causing global warming, digging up these fossil fuels and burning them is just unsustainable. It's a bad idea. And I'll actually talk to you about fossil fuels in a minute. But the point I want to make is there's all these forces that are combining: political, environmental, social, economic, the failure of the current system, rising electrical prices. All of these combine to make solar the greatest sales opportunity that has ever existed. This is why Warren Buffett said that energy deregulation will be the greatest transfer of wealth in our time. I have done door-to-door for 16 years. I've knocked doors and operated as a sales executive for door-to-door companies. There is nothing like solar, and there will never be an opportunity like it in your lifetime because of how uniquely all of these opportunities are combining. Let me talk about fossil fuels for a second so you can understand why solar is such a superior opportunity. So, how do we generate electricity right now? Well, there's a physical phenomenon where if you spin magnets around a metal coil, It'll move electrons. It'll create electricity. That's how we get electricity right now. We spin magnets around metal. Well, how do you spin those magnets? That takes energy to spin the magnets to create energy. So how do you spin the magnets? Well, you connect them to a turbine, something that spins, and you spin it with steam, rising air. Where do you get this rising air? All right, here's the problem with how we currently generate electricity. We generate that rising air, that steam, by burning stuff. What do we burn? They're called fossil fuels. It's literally prehistoric organic matter, plants and animals that died millions of years ago that have been decomposing different ways deep in the earth. We get it in solid, liquid, and gas form in coal, oil, and natural gas. The problem is, and this goes back to Elon's point, it took millions of years to create these fossil fuels for them to decompose in the earth. But we are not consuming them at a rate of millions of years. We are consuming them at a rate of years. And the resources are finite. And it gets more and more difficult and expensive to procure them. And there's environmental issues. There's an interesting documentary you should watch where this poor town, after a natural gas company fracked the earth and basically broke up the shale to release these gases, it got into their water supply, and there's videos of them literally lighting their water on fire because their kitchen sink had like toxic gas coming out of it. So it's just not sustainable. It also creates problems politically and economically where we're dependent on foreign oil. There's just problems upon problems upon problems with taking organic material out of the earth and lighting it on fire. It's just not sustainable. It's a bad idea. Meanwhile, the sun hits the earth with enough sunlight in 1 hour to power the entire planet for an entire year. All we have to do is capture this sunlight. Now, thankfully, this is like God's gift to humanity. Thankfully, there's another natural phenomenon called the photovoltaic effect. Photovoltaic comes from the Greek words meaning light and electricity. If sunlight hits certain materials, it creates a chemical reaction and produces electricity. So if you just spread thin layers of this material, silica and other things, in a glass panel and set it where the sunlight hits it, it'll just make electricity for decades. There's solar panels that were installed in the 70s that are still just producing electricity. So we can go to homeowners, we can pull up their bill and show them, instead of some power plant miles away burning fossil fuels, charging you to transmit that electricity over power lines, we can generate electricity right here at your house. We can put a little mini power plant on your roof with no moving parts that just sits there and in the most cleanest, efficient, and inexpensive way produces electricity here. It delevers the grid, it diversifies the grid, it hardens the grid, it makes America's future need for electricity sustainable. It's cleaner, it's cheaper, or it's at a fixed price. It's just better. And again, everybody is on board with this. Pew Research, which is an independent research institution, found that 84% of Americans support solar. So again, why is solar the greatest industry that you could possibly be working in? Hopefully it's clear. It's like when the internet started booming. It's just this wave that if you get on, you don't even have to be that incredible at sales. You don't have to be a top performer. You can just take advantage of all of these factors that are combining to make solar the greatest opportunity that will ever exist in our lifetime.